the chat instead, however it works. Otherwise, you can put your camera on and tell me, out of these pictures, which one describes the best what is Agile about? How you feel about Agile? Okay, let's open the chat. You can put, the one finger can be 1, the doggy can be 2, the jumping person can be 3, and then the other one can be 4. There is no wrong answer, however you feel at this moment about it. Okay, we go, I think 3 winning, some 4s. Very good. Thank you for sharing with others. And let's see how we feel at the end of the session. Surprised there were not more 2s, but yeah, thanks for sharing. And so, okay. It's like if we are in philosophy, I think it's important to always start with descriptions. And so if you just search for Agile as an adjective, what is Agile? Well, is to move in a quick and easy way. Now, Agile with a capital A is an iterative incremental approach, optimizing predictability and controlling risk. I actually found this other description that I think depicts so much better what is all this about, which is to deliver better value sooner, safer, and happier. So just pop in the chat. When you hear deliver better value sooner, what does that mean to you? If you think about better Salesforce value, what could that mean? Yeah, pop it in the chat or unmute, it's fine. Sorry, Mustafa.
Yeah, the better value, what I would say is it should help your customer. It should help the customer to run their business effectively. That's the better value, I would say.
Nice, nice. Any more takers? Any other? Again, there is no wrong answers.
Hi, this is Ayan here. So, hi. I believe better value would mean to get the maximum out of whatever minimal resources or whatever resources you have, or whatever technology or whatever skills we have in the shortest amount of time possible.
Okay. How about sooner? You kind of mentioned Ayan sooner as well, yeah. Right? A little bit. Right. How about sooner? What else sooner could mean?
I would like to have a take on the sooner. So sooner, I would say, means to use the power of the technology or the CRM or the tool you are using. Mostly, like I would say in the Salesforce term, using out of the box stuff, you do it sooner and to deliver a better value.
Okay, how about safer? What does safer mean to us?
Safer means to me is to have to provide our customers confidence and the data security terms, right? That your data is secure and protected basically right now. The way it goes in, like everything is about data, right? So just to give a satisfaction to your customer that your data is safe with us, that's what I would say about safer.
Okay,
or maybe I just want to add on that safer might be a bug-free application which client wants to deliver to their users.
Okay, more flavors of safer. Any takers? I will just add something from something that happens recently in a team that I'm working with. Safer as well is go to production without exploding once it hits production. It's safer for our well-being, which leads us to happier. Okay, so tell me, what is deliver better Salesforce value in a happier way? What this one can mean?
Happier, I would say that the solution has been delivered in the said amount of time, in the said amount of resources and evaluation, and let's say the commercials as well.
Well, take us on happier. It's something we don't seem to talk much, I think, in business world. But then it makes a heck of a difference as a team, as an organization. If you are happier, you foster wider innovation, creativity comes easier. You have more easier collaborations across teams. Happier also means to me, well, if I think, when has been a moment that I've been happy at work, is because I've solved something that it has been challenging. I helped someone. I was fighting with a flow that was giving me a very strange error a couple of days ago. And when I finished the thing, I was like, yeah, that is also happiness, being able, to chip in something wider than oneself.
Yeah, and also happier, I would also say that happier can be you are providing a quality service to your customers. Let's say our customers are using Salesforce to provide services to some other customer, like let's say it's a health cloud or something which they are providing services to someone else. So they are feeling more confident and happier to give a quality service to their customer by using Salesforce or any technology platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Rohit as well is saying customer satisfaction. Yes, yes, yes. So, okay, now that we have a clarity of what are we trying to do here, one way to depict that better value sooner, safer, happier could be this way. So let's think. The aim is to go from A to B. And more traditional way to tackle project, where you can, it will be this top bit over here, is that you can only do the go to A to B at the very end of the project, once everything is 100% complete. Instead, when we are looking at something like this, that throughout the customer is able to go from A to B, that optimizing predictability, controlling risk with iterations. So we enable go to A to B, and then we enhance it, feedback loop, further on, right? And if you can see the smiley faces, it's smiley faces all around, rather than waiting 100% complete of something to be able to do what you want to do. And you may have heard of the concept of MVP, or minimum viable product, minimum marketable feature. And really, to me, those things are all about reducing waste. So I'll give you a story, I'll give you an example, just to put it into context. So a friend of mine, I think one of the first persons I met in London, a few years ago, she was working for a nonprofit organization, and it's an organization that finds spaces in London that are not well looked after and converts them in community gardens. Now, and that was the life work of the CEO for more than 40 years, that built connections and, the fundraising all her life to transform those forgotten places into community spaces. And all information, absolutely everything, all connections, everything, it was in her head. So my friend reached out because one day she got diagnosed with brain cancer. So we had to move quick. And as I don't know if many of you know the product of the MPSP, which you can ask as a donation if you're a nonprofit. And if they accept it, you get to have a Salesforce instance with 10 licenses that you have the ability to add the package of nonprofit success pack. Now, that NPSP pack has grown a lot over the years. It's an open source and they contribute and they actually release every 2 weeks, plus some patches every week. So to go live, what was for us our minimum viable product? How could we deliver better value, do that sooner, safer, happier? So what we did, it was, we started really small. So at least the information of the lifetime of service of the CEO could be captured and continue her legacy. So we basically stripped down the access to just have users with the ability to create organizations, households, relationships, and affiliations, which is the link between organizations. So they could go from A to B in a couple of days. So let's start with why. Why do we care about doing things differently, right? So I'll give you an example from our lovely Salesforce. So Salesforce themselves, they make the move from more traditional project management to more agile ways for the engineering team. And that was in 2006. And with that move, they increased the productivity by 38%. And they were managing to wrap up the major releases that we all love 3 times a year, 60% faster. This is big numbers, very big numbers. I'll give you some more big numbers. The chaos report, it looks that Agile boosts success rates by 39%. And as more complex something is, the most you get out of it. And then further research from Dr. Rico that talks about improvements of cost, schedule, performance, quality, satisfaction, efficiency. And the thing is, teams can go fast, real fast, but if the rest of the organization doesn't keep up, then it kind of defeats the object. So that's basically the term of business agility. And just to highlight a couple, market success, because you go to market earlier, you know what's really wanted, you can adjust to what's needed. And then satisfaction, yes, customer, also employees, and adaptive leadership. So it kind of goes hand in hand. So why an alternative? Right? Why bother do things differently, even though I show you some of the numbers? And so if we think a century ago, manufacturing, we were more focused on execution rather than innovation. Life was more predictable. You had clear what you wanted to accomplish and how you were to do it. So you had very defined roles with defined modules, practices to execute very defined plans. Made sense. But now things change more quickly. So we need to inspect and adapt and quickly deal with greater uncertainty. So when I say do things differently, but differently of what? So there is a very common methodology called Waterfall, which is like a cascade of events. And it kind of looks this way. So you start your project with a phase of requirements gathering. When the phase finished of writing all these things and speaking with people, you wrap up that, sign that off, hand that section phase information to somebody else who does a high-level design. And it goes through similar process, some diagrams, further documentation, high level, wrap it up, and then you get to the next event into the cascade of events, which is develop, and then similarly, then an integration phase, then you will have a test phase, and then you'll get to deploy at some point. So what happened here? And if, let's just draw, let's say, right. Let's put that straight instead, a little bit bigger. Right, so let's say this line here is the amount of stuff that we want to do. And this line over here is our timeline. Now, at this point of time, at the very beginning of the project, is in fact when we are going to know the least that we are ever going to know about what we are building. And so, as we have rarely perfect knowledge at the beginning, when you go through this cascade of events, what's happened is that, okay, so this is the start, this is the amount that we want to deliver. Okay, so we start talk with people, fill out requirements, documents, whatever else. Then we wrap our handover. Similarly, we continue conversations and high-level design, docs, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so you finish these two phases. Yet, you see, you haven't touched the product. You still have the same amount of stuff to get out the door. And so what's happened? And because we rarely have perfect knowledge at the beginning, because what I like to describe the work that we do is more conceptual rather than executive kind of execution, define instructions, because there is more than one way to achieve something, and you'll find out some interesting things of the Salesforce platform. So what's happened here? In traditional project management, you have this kind of three variables. So one will be cost, and you're like, okay, we can still deliver, but can we have more budget? That doesn't go down well. Or, you know, can we extend the timeline? That doesn't go down well either. And so what's happened at this point is that key deliverables, such as, you know, assurance and testing, it gets kind of pushed towards the end. And you end up with this bombshell effect. Again, you go to production and explodes because you are compromising key items. So the third variable here will be kind of quality, right? So in a very, very simplistic manner, one could argue that Agile brings another variable to the table, which is features, right? So we look at this way. So we're using feedback loops. So instead of going this cascade of events, we're going to be having feedback loops where every end of the loop, you actually have deliver from A to B everything. So one particular thing, the assignment, requirements, design, develop, integration, test, assurance, deploy. Every single loop throughout. So your users, your customers, the end users, they have value in the market in use, because having many things in progress doesn't bring value. Having finished things on the hands of users and in use do. So just to wrap this concept of waterfall or not waterfall, what I find quite amusing is that the guy that gets attributed this cascade of events sort of methodology said at the end of his paper's proceedings when he was explaining this, I believe in this concept, but the implementation described above is risky and invites failure. Why on bananas is the thing that is used the most to deliver projects? If it's even the guy that gets attributed the thing tells us that it's risky and invites failure. It's one of those life mysteries, I think. So we hear Waterfall as a methodology, and because I like to start with descriptions. What is a methodology? So if we just Google this up, it's going to tell us that it's a system of methods used in a particular area of study or activity. That doesn't tell us much. So let's go and find out what is a method. And a method is a particular procedure for accomplishing something, especially something systematic or established one. Now, what I advocate, that's why I put the avocado, because it reminds me this word. What I advocate is that Agile, in fact, is not a methodology, it's a mindset. And what is a mindset is an established set of attitudes held by someone. So it's not about doing Agile, it's about being Agile. So it's a mindset that promotes planning, but it's adaptive planning, evolutionary development, delivery, but early delivery, and continuous improvement. And what really, really encourage is a rapid and flexible response to change. So I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson. So you guys, if you haven't, please go to this site and have a read. It's actually very, very nice to have a look. So you're gonna have the 4 values, 12 principles of Agile, but actually find out where it comes about, what they were trying to do. And so Agile has been around for more than 20 years. Actually, I think it was 20 years a few weeks ago. And so in 2001, few people from the software background gathered together. They were doing projects in a different manner. They decide to put their discrepancies aside and come together and find commonalities. So you have representative from extreme programming, from Scrum, from adaptive software development, Crystal, feature-driven development, so on. So they came together in a ski resort in Utah. I'm sure they ski and had some nice meals. And they came back with the manifesto. So those 4 values and 12 principles. And yes, it comes from software background, but it doesn't mean that Agile is only about software. I have a video somewhere here, if you guys are interested, just to have a look. Well, it's construction of 15-story tall building, resistant 9 magnitude for earthquakes, and the whole thing was delivered in 6 days. And personally, I've done work with all sorts of teams beyond software. For example, I've done some work with a roofing company in the UK. Roof, yes, they also go to site and they find bugs. They start taking some of the roof out and they're like, surprise. Or, things doesn't go to plan, or they also do spikes to find out the best way to solve a problem. Or another different team that I've done work with, PMO team, project management office team. And yes, also, whatever they do, they can also be more agile in what they do. So just to give you, I found this site quite interesting. So this is a site that talks to us about the technology landscape, and this is only for MarTech, which is marketing technology related. They start gathering in 2014. The amount of options of tools, tech tools for only MarTech, and this is growing like crazy, like exponentially big. And so what I'm trying to depict here is that change is innate, it's part of us. The exponential growth of options, technology, possibilities, ever change is not going to slow down. If anything, on the contrary, it's going to speed up. So we did say earlier that things change quickly. Just think about the last 12 months and the roller coaster that has affected our world. How many months and months of projects are now in limbo or have gone to the bin or they not use? It's mad, all that time, all that effort and all those funds. So more than ever, we can make a difference. In fact, we must keep going. We need to keep going. and be smarter at what we're doing, keeping in mind that mindset when approaching a challenge. So I mentioned the values and the principles a couple times. I don't want to cover that now in terms of time, and as well, some of you may know already, but I'm just popping another link here if you guys want to just grab a free course about it, where I will talk about agile onions. That is what we can see here in the picture. It also kind of covers the cycles. For example, in a Scrum, which is a framework to help you to be more agile, goes more into detail. And when we were talking about feedback loops, you know, to deliver that value throughout, you may be seeing something like this visual representation. So this is a cycle, a time box, a sprint. And with those cycles, you have constant feedback loops. And having constant feedback loops, what helps you is that you can go to market earlier. So you can start trading, you know, income and value earlier. You get feedback earlier, learn what's really wanted and what works. And then that's going to inform your next steps rather than guessing, you know, so you really can reduce waste and deviation. So like the example of the nonprofit we were talking before, like we may have enabled household organizations, relationships, and affiliations just to go live in a couple of days, boom. Then we added a basic donation and income management week later. And then we added a basic volunteering sort of module, because volunteering was really the backbone of their operations. It was only 7 people as a full-time staff, and majority of the things was dealt with volunteers. So you may have heard of that word of sprint, and it's used for that concept of your cycle. And it's like a time box. And the value of time boxes is to reduce uncertainty and to increase agreement. So every single cycle is going to give you the opportunity to respond to new events and information. You can deploy viable value into the market. You can learn from that value, how your users are using the system. Input what's going to be your next steps. Also, you're going to be able to adjust your approach, you know, earlier on, less waste, and stop wasting time on ineffective things that doesn't work. It's okay, we can pivot and experiment. We have the wiggle room then to try things out because we have smaller loops. I saw this tweet, I think yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna talk to you today. So Tiffany Bova, which is a growth evangelist for Salesforce, tweeted this: is how to focus in the age of distraction. And I thought, let me just grab this. I'm gonna show you, because this is only at individual level. The age of distraction, that's where we are now. And now think of it, and let's scale it on teams or multi-teams or across departments, your supplier chain. And this is just what happened. We have this inertia tendency that takes over into a spiral of distraction. So we must be cleverer than that. You know, I speak in the book, for example, I speak about flow and focus and how we can accomplish that. So just to wrap up, so the things that we cover is going to give you a more competitive advantage that no other manner can give you. Having that vision, you know, that where you're going and fine-tuning along the way, like a journey, is invaluable. How can you slice the work is really important, right? So it's bite size. What is the minimum that is going to give you the most return, and then build upon, so that we can deliver better value sooner, safer, and happier. Remember, the goal is not to be agile. The goal is to improve. So thank you. I would really love if you guys pop in the chat a few things that kind of resonated with you about the stuff that we covered today. Anything in particular, I would like, just pop it in the chat. Or unmute, whatever you prefer. Happy either way.
Yes, Mustafa this side. So I like the term you mentioned, you coined the term very correctly, saying that it's not about doing agile, it's about being agile. That's a very important thing actually, for any of the person who is starting with any technology. Like it's if they learn at very early stage, it will be better for them to grow in the career as well. So it's not about doing agile, it's about being agile. That's very like that is the most important point I found out, and it's hitting the actual point, like the target.
Thank you, Mustafa. Okay, who else wants to chip in?
I want to say the last slide wherein the quote from Stephen Hawkins, intelligence is to adapt to changes. So I actually have questions on. I have a couple of questions on that, as in uh, that's what kind of I'm trying to do with the ever-changing Salesforce ecosystem. Uh, so should I ask that question now, or maybe?
Yeah, please feel free.
Okay. So earlier you did say that agile is not something which is uh, specific to the IT world. It was used in, as you said, roof building and building a 15-story building as well. So let's say if someone who has been introduced to agile very late in his career, like myself, obviously talking about myself here, and I already have a lot of team management experience, but not obviously in the IT industry. How do we adapt to it, get some project management experience through agile? How can we inculcate that within our careers and also towards the Salesforce ecosystem? How do we go about doing that?
Well, big question. And what I'll say is that the answers are within yourself. That's what I believe. One of the things that you can do is get familiarized, maybe grab that course for free that I put here. Get familiarized with the Scrum framework. It's a Scrum that's going to help you to get into a rhythm as a team. One of the agile ninja secrets is that we don't talk about agile, right? Change is something that humans, we resist. So we have this tendency to resist change. So rather than going gung-ho, we're going to be agile now, and happens a lot in organizations. Yeah, everybody agile, top down, everybody agile, like this way, how I tell you, and do it now. That doesn't work. Because it's something that needs to come within, right? So sometimes having an agile bubble within your team in a way that you can look at the work that you have and adjust what you do today gradually so that you can deliver that sooner, so you can get feedback sooner. Really small things can make a big difference. In terms of having exposure, I'm not sure how your team is composed, but looking at the work that you have, how you can slice it so you can deliver value. Let's say you could be, I don't know, if you're releasing every couple weeks or every month, how can you bring that to 1 week? Small things. Try out, discuss with your team, how was the experiment, how we can make it better. Okay, more questions, more thoughts, things that you like, things that you had a aha moment, or questions about anything.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Ines. Uh, Vipul this side. So actually, I have a question. It's more of a companies who are startup. Uh, there are a lot many companies in India who are just a startup and working over the Salesforce platform, and they are just not using the agile methodology as such. It's just like that. The kind of the freelancer work they are doing, and handling the projects to their employees, and they are just working on the task and all of that stuff. So that's how it is. I'm not saying that most of the companies don't do that. I'm saying that most of the companies does follow the agile methodology, but there are a few of them who are just a startup and trying to inculcate themselves within the Salesforce ecosystem, and trying to understand the things about the Salesforce ecosystem, how the project management works, how the agile methodology works. So I just want to know, like, that the um, early beginners who are getting into the Salesforce ecosystem and getting into the uh, new job, which is a startup company, and they are just doing their work and trying to implement the things for the sale in Salesforce for their clients, and they are not even following. And as Mustafa said, that if you are trying to being agile, it would be very easy for everyone to get into the Salesforce ecosystem to follow all of the processes, but uh, that to be on early stages. But as of now, I can see that a lot many companies are not for startups are not following that agile methodology. They are just trying to get into the Salesforce ecosystem, getting the projects from the freelancer sites, and getting their job done. So I just want to know that how can you advise people who are actually on the beginner stage of their career and couldn't able to follow the agile methodology just because of the startups. So how can they proceed further with that? Because
So
I just want to experience. I just want to share that experience. The experience which I do have is like starting of my career of 3 years. I didn't know anything about the agile. So that's what my mindset is, but now I'm working on the agile methodology, that how it's going to be and how it is happening to me. Because while following that agile methodology, I'm being very much relaxed with my mind, that I'm working on those stuff. I do have Jira, and we are following all of the processes, and the process makes you understand. Sometimes the processes are so vulnerable that you couldn't even know about it. So that's what it is. But after 3 years of my career, I started working like that and trying to adapt the things, and still I'm adapting those things. But that starting 3 years of my beginner age of my career, I couldn't able to understand the things how it is going. But most of us said that if any people, any of the employee who is working for any of the company, if he or she will able to understand the things at the early stages, then their life would be much easier than it is.
yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I've done work with startups like a few years ago, from helping one man band was freelance, and I left when they had 5 employees. Yesterday, I finished a contract with a really small team of 6 people, a consultancy that they do Salesforce. I myself, I'm a freelance. I also do development in Salesforce, call it analytics, marketing cloud, part of social studio, omni-channel, I did digital engagement, whatever, you name it. So the mindset is even, I would argue that is easier than in a big over-processed driven organization where you can have small feedback loops and give value sooner. So if something comes to me, the first thing that I will do is look at it, have a discussion about, what is the aim, what's the purpose, and what is the minimum that I can give to my customer so that they have it in their hands and start generating value this week. And then we look at it, I'm sure we're going to improve it, because it's kind of like the change of mindset also of when you're talking about projects have a start and end date. But let's think about products. Once the application is in use, it can only get better. And that's fine. And that's good. It keeps us busy. And, so it's how can we change in the way that we attack things so we can deliver that value sooner, do that, more often and in a safer way in terms of data, in terms of not having to deploy in the middle of the night. There is so much to safety that we had just scratched the surface. And then happier, right? Of being able to chip in and master something that has a wider purpose than oneself. So yeah, even the team that I was just working with in 12 weeks, they managed to wrap up a project that was late for a little bit too much. So we just looked at the different things. We sliced the content into epics, the kind of stories, and every week deploy. And then every 2 days, deploy. And then every day, deploy. So the thing gets to prod, it gets used, you get feedback. Some of the things that you can do in Salesforce as well is use toggles, use metadata types, so custom settings to help you to push things through the pipeline. Even that maybe your users needs training, right? But how can you change the way that you attack something so there is full value throughout? So when I was talking about the slice of the cake, you kind of have 3 layers. You have your business logic, you have your database, and you have your user interface. Salesforce is really making it easy to couple these things up for us in comparison with other tech. But when you use user stories, when you're thinking about a piece of work, have that slice of a cake that contains all of it. So it gets to prod and it can be used. And it's incremental, it builds upon the existing parts. I'm giving you some ideas there, people.
Can I add a couple of things on top of it? I just want to share my experience on this. So see, I have been working as an independent contractor from a couple of years now anyways. So I have seen a couple of things like, see, even I am a follower of agile methodology for sure. But again, agile methodology is something which is not driven by one person. It's a teamwork, right? It's a team mindset, not a single person mindset. So let's say if you're working in a company, if you have agile mindset but other people don't have, you cannot do with that, right? And one more thing is agile mentality, I would say, is it needs patience. It needs a patience to see the results getting driven in very successful way. If you don't have patience, like you said, every week or 2 days 3 days deploy, I have seen so many cases as that. But it totally depends on how your team mindset is. If they don't allow, so if we don't have any option, right? So as Vipul was pointing up the question saying that I was like he started working somewhere and for 3 years he didn't know what is agile. But I think that's also okay. You at least trying to understand that how life works without agile, and then once you shift into agile, you know how life works, how it is better. Then you can mentor other people as well. So it's important to work non-agile way as well and with agile way as well. So you understand the difference and you understand the importance of those things. Because I
Yeah.
have been working a lot with multiple clients. from past couple of years, I have seen multiple clients, they didn't allow to work on the agile methodology due to some very time crunches, or you will say some commercial issues or XYZ. There are multiple consequences to it. And once they don't follow that, and then they come back to us saying that this doesn't work, or they didn't get the expected product out of it, then we can analyze and tell it to them, saying that, see, this is the flaws, you are missing it out. If you follow with this process, you will of course get the product what you are thinking about. It just needs a mentality and the patience. That's what I would say from my experience.
Agreed. Agreed, Mustafa. It actually requires patience a lot.
Yeah.
So I think we don't have much of the questions as of now. And we are bang on time, Ines. And thank you so much for an amazing session. And it was a great discussion out there, because it was a topic where I am also building myself. That's what I want to you to introduce this with our community and share the knowledge with it. So that's a great thing we had in last couple of 1 hour. And thank you so much for accepting my invite over to it.
Thank you so much for having me, for thinking of me. And I hope, a little bits of knowledge and wisdom is going to be helping you to, deliver better value sooner, safer, in a happier way. Happier is so important. We need to foster happiness in the work that we do.
Yep. And thank you so much. And have a great weekend. And thank you, everyone.
Nice to meet you, everybody.
Thank you, Ines. Have a good day. I would say good night.